General Officer commanding the Air Corps, Flag Officer commanding the Naval Service, former General Officers commanding the Western Command and Western Brigade, colleagues, both serving and retired, members of the Association of Retired Commissioned Officers, Organisation of National Ex-Servicemen and Women, and United Nations Veterans, the Irish United Nations Veterans Association, guests and friends. This is a poignant day in the history of this formation, as it stands down at 23:59 hours tonight after continuously serving the state with loyalty, dignity and dedication for almost 91 years. In addressing this parade, I do not intend to take refuge in quotations from poets, playwrights, famous statesmen, nor Sun Tzu or Clausewitz. This is a gathering of serving and old soldiers who have and are doing the state some service. Rhetoric is superfluous on such occasions. General Sean McCohen, the famed blacksmith of Ballinallee, led the takeover of this barracks from the British on the 28th of February 1922. He was appointed as the first General Officer commanding the Western Command on the 1st of June 1922, as promulgated in General Routine Order 1 of 1922. There has been an unbroken link of command of this formation from Custume Barracks since that date until today. The state was challenged at its inception in 1922. The Defence Forces stood by its oath of fidelity. It was challenged to a greater extent in 1932, when it again remained loyal. Then came the Second World War years, the troublesome 1950s, leading to the 30-year internal conflict of the 1969-1999 troubles. Again, the Defence Forces stood in the breach in support of the civil power. The troops of this formation were central to these efforts on all occasions, even more so because of the geography of its area of operations. Major personal sacrifices were willingly made. Domestic considerations were secondary. Service, loyal service, continuously prevailed. The supreme sacrifice was made by men like Private Paddy Kelly of the 6th Infantry Battalion. One of the most visible manifestations of the state's foreign policy is the contribution of the Defence Forces to international peace and security on foreign tours of duty in the troubled spots of the world. Again, this formation has done its duty loyally and without fuss. The late Colonel Mark Buckley from the West led the first formed unit to serve the United Nations in Congo. The then Commandant Pat Quinlan and his troops stood their ground and fought valiantly at Jadotville. These men and their troops from the West are remembered with pride. Disparate parts of the Middle East, Cyprus, Lebanon, Somalia, Kosovo, Liberia and Chad roll off the tongue of countries where men and women of this brigade have done their duty in the service of peace and the protection of the dispossessed and the poorest of the poor. Awards for gallantry and bravery were awarded to 12 men. The supreme sacrifice made by 16 men from the Western Command and Brigade in these foreign fields. We remember them today, as always, with pride and respect. This past year has been a fraught and difficult one for us all, since the announcement of the disestablishment of this brigade was finally made on the 27th of March. perhaps the full impact and implications of that fateful decision is now only beginning to dawn fully on our personnel. As in previous decades, when the Defence Forces was challenged and never found wanting, the men and women of this brigade will continue in that tradition without wavering or deviation. Our private thoughts and feelings on this decision will remain that, private, for as long as we wear the uniform of the state. We move on. 5 PDF units of the brigade will be disestablished at midnight, as will all independent units of the reserve in our formation on the 31st of January coming. Units of long-standing and proud histories of exemplary service. They will all be missed. These are emotional and trying times. I urge you all to remain strong in your commitment. Knowing you as I do, this will not challenge you. The process of change is trying, but we are made of strong stuff. To the members of the units being disestablished, I commend you and wish you well in your new units. The staff of my headquarters have excelled these past months in the most trying of circumstances. In particular, the fraught and uncertain reassignment process was concluded with honesty, transparency, and most especially decency. Camaraderie was not compromised. For military forces, decency and camaraderie are essential. The West exudes it. Brigadier Generals Mick Finn and Derry Fitzgerald will be your commanders from midnight. Give them the loyalty, respect and commitment that you have given unflinchingly to me during my time in command. I am proud to have been your commander. I wish the Chief of Staff success for the remainder of his tenure in that appointment. And finally, the West is and always will be awake. At this moment, it is perhaps making a tactical withdrawal. We live in hope of better days ahead. Grad de Erev, thank you all.